Well, shooters and reloaders out there, Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming into you from the hot lead zone. And today I was going to do some bullet casting, but it rained last night and it looks like it's going to be raining pretty soon today. So forget that. Well, hi to all you shooters and reloaders out there. It's Fortune Cookie coming to you from the range, and we're going to do some load shooting today, and let's get right at it. So what we have here are all loaded with 10.4 grains of Herco, and what we have here is the 45 Colt 255 grain round loads flat point bullets, 10.4 Herco. Then we got the 45 Schofield, same bullet, 10.4 grains of Herco. That's a Schofield. And then we got the same bullet powder coated, same powder charge. So we're going to shoot these for velocity and accuracy, compare the efficiency of the 45 Schofield with the 45 Colt with a voluminous case. First, for a baseline comparison, we got the 45 Colt, 10.4 grains of Herco, 255 grain round nose flat point Lee cast bullet, traditionally lubed. We're using our Ruger Blackhawk 5.5 inch Blackhawk. Okay, those rounds chambered just fine thanks to the Lee factory crimp die. Now let's go ahead and shoot 5 rounds for chronograph and accuracy testing. So with that 45 Colt load, here's the important information. High of 1183, low of 1128, average 1150, spread of 55, deviation of 19. Now let's shoot that Schofield load. Now realize that 10 grains of any kind of pistol powder is a pretty hefty charge. So this is probably going to be on the robust side, but we knew that going in. The idea is to have a real powerful load here. And compare with the voluminous 45 Colt case. Now once again, these loads are only for strong revolvers like the Ruger or Thompson Center, this kind of thing. Not for old guns. Way too much pressure for old guns. So here are those Schofield fired cases. You see that obturated very well, and they ejected without any problem. and the primer signs are okay. Not overpressure, but they are on the hot side, no doubt. Give you another look at those Schofield cases. You see there's no cratering of the primers and they are not overly flattened. So we're okay. But you know you're shooting a stout load. It's somewhere over 1200 feet per second, as we shall see when the target change happens. These are the 45 Colt with the 10.4 grains of vertical. You see those are stout too, but the pressures are, looks like a little higher with the Schofield, but that's to be expected. Still very safe. We have a high of 1202 for the Schofield, low of 1187, average of 1192, spread of 15, deviation of, is that 6? That's 6. That's a pretty consistent load. It'll shoot more accurately than I did today, so we can load more of that. So the Schofield load, with the first shot went low, the next 4 were fairly close together with 2 shot groups. The last 2 were these 2. Probably grip pressure caused this. As you can see, the Schofield cases are not bulged out inordinately. Very clean shooting load, all the powder burned. The Schofield is a fairly impressive round if you want 1200 feet per second or less. Now let's go ahead and shoot the same load powder coated bullets and see how they perform with the powder coating. Okay, here are those 10.4 grains of Herco powder coated bullets. So for those powder coated bullets, the high was 1200, the low was 1184, average of 1189, spread of 16, standard deviation of 6 again. So that's a pretty good load, both in powder coated and non-powder coated form. In fact, they both shot exactly the same. And the powder coated load shot tighter, but I think we can get that tweaked a little bit more. So shooters and reloaders, conclusions. And that is, the 45 Colt is a favorite of ours, but it is a leftover of a black powder cartridge that used 40 grains of black powder, and that's responsible for that big powder space in there. They went from the 45 Schofield to the 45 Colt, and the idea was to give more black powder space. Well, with smokeless powder, we don't need all that space for most of the loads the 45 Colt will shoot. So that today, the 45 Schofield will do a lot of the loads more efficiently than the 45 Colt does. So for instance, today we found out that with equal powder charges, the 45 Schofield will give us 40 feet per second more velocity with a 10.4 grain charge of Herco compared to the 45 Colt, the same powder charge. Now what that means is the 45 Colt will give us 1150 feet per second with 10.4 grains of Herco, and the 45 Schofield will give us 1190 plus feet per second. So we could get 1150 with a smaller powder charge in the 45 Schofield, giving us more efficiency. Plus, the standard deviations and the spread, extreme spreads, are lower. The 45 Colt gave us a standard deviation of 19, and 2 different loads of the 45 Schofield with this bullet, powder coated and not, both had standard deviation of 6. much better than 19. Plus, from the primer signs of the fired cartridge cases, we could actually load the 45 Schofield to a little higher pressure. There's a little more room, so we could get over 1200 feet per second with a 255 grain bullet easily with the 45 Schofield. Now, of course, the 45 Colt will give us the potential to give us even more feet per second because we can take advantage of the bigger powder space with slower burning powders. But there might be an argument there that there's no need to go that high with the 45 Colt. We could go with a magnumized version and go with a 4.54 Casull. So that, argumentably, our favored 45 Colt round could be done away with, because we can do everything with the 45 Schofield. And then if we want even more power, we go with the 4.54 Casull. Now, of course, this is heresy because we all like the 45 Colt round. So forget I said that. We like the 45 Colt round, even if we have to use a little more powder to get the same velocity that we could get with the 45 Schofield. But it's fun to have the smaller, more efficient 45 Schofield on hand, and I might very well shoot a lot of those. Now, as for accuracy, we couldn't get good conclusions shooting from a rest because I kept getting flyers. The middle finger was being injured by the recoil of the trigger guard, so that I kept getting flyers, and that wasn't a good assessment of accuracy. But suffice to say, at the end, to go home on, I fired the last 3 shots, and with powder coated bullets in the 45 Schofield, I was holding here and the bullet hit there, but I forgot where I was holding, so I went over here and held 6 o'clock, the bullet hit here, and then I went back to a center hold, fired the shot, called it well, and it hit here. So it's actually 2 bullets went in the same hole there. So based on that, we just know that that's a pretty accurate load. And that's the way we used to tell accuracy in the past. If the bullets would hit where we called them, that was it. That's all we needed. So this 45 Schofield round with either the powder coated or non-powder coated bullets, very accurate load. And so is the 45 Colt with the same bullet, the same powder charge. So there we go. And of course, the clean shooting properties of the load is very important. So let's see if I can show you that barrel there all the way down to the forcing cone. Now, another good way to look at it is from this direction here. You can see if there's any lead in there, or go like this. Get that in focus for you so you can see right in the forcing cone area. If there's lead in there, you'll see streaks. Also, for our purposes, very important that there's not a lot of fouling because of the shorter cases in there, and you'll see that there isn't any. Got that clearer. You see it from both sides here. So that's good performance. Now, of course, I had to run a brass brush through here about a dozen times, and also here, but cleaned up without a whole lot of trouble. Took about 20 minutes of nice, relaxed cleaning to get it clean. It's worth it. Which means that the fouling wasn't bad enough to affect accuracy, and that's very important. Bye for now.